One train, 560 tons of diesel, 3 FPV attack drones backed by a reserve recon Mavic 3. In under 2 minutes, a secure Russian fuel supply line in Zaporizhzhia Oblast was transformed into a scene of destruction. This was not a random act, but a calculated strike, targeting a logistics artery capable of sustaining 2 Russian battalions for a week. How did Ukrainian forces identify the right train, penetrate layers of electronic defenses, and coordinate a strike with such surgical precision? What intelligence and planning enabled them to exploit a fleeting vulnerability in hostile territory? The answers begin long before the first drone took flight. Precision in the shadows. How one fuel train became a target. Tracking a single Russian fuel train across contested territory required a level of coordination and risk that few operations demand. The asset in question, carrying 560 tons of diesel, could keep 2 Russian battalions operational for a week. Identifying and striking this train in Zaporizhzhia Oblast meant relying not just on advanced technology, but on the determination and bravery of people embedded deep behind enemy lines. Ukrainian partisan spotters, ordinary civilians living under occupation, became the linchpin of the intelligence effort. For 3 days, these individuals risked detection and capture to monitor the train's movement. They recorded its refueling schedule, tracked how fast it moved through each sector, and identified the critical 15-minute window when it would be most distant from Russian air defense coverage. This information was relayed in real time, allowing Ukrainian forces to map the train's vulnerabilities and predict when it would be exposed. The risks were constant. Russian patrols, counterintelligence operations, and surveillance equipment all threatened to compromise their mission. Yet, without these civilian spotters, the operation would have lacked the granular data necessary for a precision strike. Once intelligence from the ground established the train's schedule and location, the next phase depended on technological confirmation. Here, the DJI Mavic 3 reconnaissance drone played a decisive role. Modified for covert operations, the Mavic 3 was fitted with a stock Hasselblad L2D-20C camera and, in select units, a FLIR boson thermal core. This allowed operators to scan the rail lines in complete darkness, using thermal sensors capable of detecting temperature differences as small as 0.05 degrees Celsius at up to 200 meters. The Mavic 3's digital zoom, originally capped at 28 times hybrid, was pushed to 56 times through experimental firmware tweaks, providing operators with the ability to identify the target with remarkable clarity, even at significant distance and through dense terrain. Thermal imaging was indispensable. The heat signature from the diesel locomotive stood out against the cooler background, making it possible to confirm the target visually in conditions where direct observation was impossible. With the Mavic 3's custom firmware, the drone could operate without broadcasting unencrypted signals, evading Russian aeroscope detection systems and preserving the element of surprise. This combination of high-resolution, optical, and thermal imagery gave Ukrainian operators the ability to verify not just the presence of a train, but to ensure it was the correct asset, a crucial step before launching any strike. Securing accurate targeting data was only the beginning. Timing the attack required relentless surveillance and precise coordination. The intelligence gathered by partisan spotters was cross-referenced with real-time drone feeds to track the train's acceleration, deceleration, and moments of vulnerability along the route. The team identified a narrow window, just 15 minutes, when the train would be beyond the reach of Russian air defenses. Outside this zone, the risk of interception by Russian counter-drone measures increased dramatically. The operation demanded that every detail, from the train's speed on straightaways to its pauses on curves, be monitored and communicated without delay. The operation's success depended on this synchronization between human intelligence and technological assets. As the train entered the exposed segment of track, Ukrainian forces initiated the strike plan. The Mavic 3 recon drone confirmed the target's position, relaying final adjustments to the attack team. With all variables accounted for, the transition from surveillance to action was seamless. The result was a demonstration of how civilian courage and technical adaptation can converge to create a decisive opportunity. But the challenge did not end with target identification. Russian forces deployed advanced electronic warfare systems designed to jam GPS signals and disrupt drone communications. Yet, when Russian jammers activated, these drones didn't flinch. Could a fleet of modified drones really overcome Russia's advanced electronic warfare systems? Ukraine's edge in this operation came from a layered arsenal of custom drones, each adapted to function in the most challenging electromagnetic conditions on the modern battlefield. The core of the surveillance effort was the DJI Mavic 3 reconnaissance drone, modified for persistent overwatch and target confirmation. Operators equipped it with FLIR boson thermal imaging cores, giving the drone the ability to detect heat signatures from vehicles and fuel tankers through darkness and smoke, an essential capability for night operations and for tracking targets obscured by environmental conditions. The drone's firmware was also custom encrypted, allowing it to operate covertly and evade Russian aeroscope detection systems, which routinely scan for and intercept unencrypted drone signals. This encrypted link provided a critical safeguard, ensuring that the drone could relay targeting data without revealing its position. Redundancy was built into the system. A second Mavic 3 reconnaissance drone remained on standby, ready to take over if the primary was lost to enemy action or technical failure. This ensured that the flow of real-time intelligence would not be interrupted, even if Russian defenses managed to disrupt one of the platforms. The two-drone configuration provided continuous coverage, allowing Ukrainian operators to maintain visual and thermal contact with the target from the initial identification phase through to the final moments before the strike. The offensive component of the arsenal was made up of 3 Ukrainian-built FPV quadcopters, each designed for a single one-way attack. These drones, stripped of all non-essential components, prioritized speed, stability, and payload capacity. Each carried a precisely engineered 2.66 kilogram shaped charge, capable of punching through up to 22 millimeters of hardened steel, more than enough to breach the armor of fuel tank cars. Tuned with our custom Betaflight firmware and F7 flight controllers, the drones reached terminal dive speeds exceeding 140 kilometers per hour. Their acceleration and maneuverability allowed them to close the distance to the target in seconds, minimizing exposure to defensive fire or electronic countermeasures. Russian defenses in the area relied on the Lear-3 electronic warfare system, a mobile platform capable of disrupting GPS and drone control frequencies across a 30-kilometer radius. This system combined broadband jamming, which flooded the airwaves with interference, and spot jamming, which targeted specific frequencies such as the 2.4 GHz band used by many commercial drones. The intent was to sever the link between pilot and drone, or to corrupt navigation data, forcing the drones to crash or abort their mission. To counter this, Ukrainian engineers incorporated frequency-hopping spread spectrum technology into both the reconnaissance and strike drones. The drones would switch frequencies hundreds of times per second across 3 separate bands, making it nearly impossible for Russian jammers to maintain a lock. Even if GPS signals were degraded or lost entirely, each drone relied on an inertial measurement unit, a combination of accelerometers and gyroscopes, to track its position and orientation. These IMUs allow the drones to navigate independently of external signals for the duration of their attack runs, providing a reliable backup when electromagnetic interference was at its peak. As the drones neared their target, guidance shifted from GPS to terminal optical systems. In the final 15 seconds before impact, each FPV drone activated advanced image recognition algorithms trained on the distinct features of Russian rail tank cars. Using onboard visual data, the drones autonomously identified the correct car, calculated the optimal point of impact, and executed the attack sequence. This approach rendered jamming efforts irrelevant in the critical final moments, ensuring that each drone could complete its mission even if all external communication was lost. The simplicity of the FPV drone's design was matched by the sophistication of their guidance and resilience. By focusing on mission-specific hardware and software, Ukrainian forces fielded a strike package that was both adaptable and robust against the full spectrum of Russian countermeasures. The integration of encrypted communications, autonomous guidance, and layered navigation systems ensured that the strike drones could reach their targets with a high degree of reliability. All of these layers of protection set the stage for a showdown with Russia's Lear 3 jammers. The capabilities of these drones would soon be tested in real time, as the strike unfolded with a level of precision that would alter the battlefield in moments. Fire and steel collided in a sequence that would reshape the battlefield. The first FPV strike drone approached the moving train, its thermal imaging system guiding the operator to the heat signature of the third tanker car. The drone's software adjusted for the train's speed and trajectory, ensuring a precise hit. Upon impact, the shape-charge warhead's tungsten alloy cone focused explosive energy into a jet of molten metal, traveling at over 30,000 feet per second. This jet pierced the tanker's 12mm steel wall and ignited the diesel fuel inside, reaching temperatures exceeding 2,500 degrees Celsius. The explosion instantly vaporized hundreds of gallons of fuel, sending a pressurized wave of flame and superheated vapor outward. The train's design, intended for logistical efficiency, became a liability. Interconnected ventilation systems between the tank cars, meant to stabilize pressure during loading, acted as channels for the spreading fire. Within 15 seconds, flames and ignited diesel vapors traveled through these vents, carrying the inferno from the third car into its neighbors. The result was a rapid chain reaction. As the adjacent cars filled with explosive vapor, the fire breached their containment, amplifying the destruction with each passing moment. Visibility deteriorated as thick smoke enveloped the train, but the second FPV drone's thermal optics cut through the chaos. Operators identified the sixth tanker car, which remained unscathed amid the spreading blaze. The drone's targeting system locked onto the cooler metal of this intact car, and the shape charge struck with the same focused violence as before. Another detonation followed, igniting roughly 69 tons of diesel. The resulting explosion merged with the ongoing fire, expanding the inferno to engulf 4 tank cars in total. The chain reaction accelerated, the heat and pressure building with each successive blast. The third and final drone targeted the 8th and last car in the convoy. Despite the ongoing destruction and instability, the drone's autonomous systems compensated for the shifting environment, guiding it to its mark. The shaped charge penetrated the steel, igniting the remaining fuel and triggering a final, catastrophic combustion event. With all 3 strikes complete, the entire length of the fuel train was consumed by fire. The combined energy released by the ignition of approximately 560 tons of diesel produced a sustained firestorm. The intense heat generated powerful convection currents, pulling air into the base of the flames and sending a column of smoke and fire more than 200 meters into the night sky. This inferno created localized atmospheric effects, with rolling smoke spiraling into a vortex, and the area around the blast rendered uninhabitable. The aftermath extended beyond the immediate destruction of the train. The firestorm warped the steel rails, twisting them out of alignment, and reduced the wooden ties to ash. Debris from the tank cars was scattered across the right-of-way, and diesel seeped into the soil, creating environmental hazards that would complicate any repair effort. The railway was rendered inoperable. Even under ideal conditions, restoration would take weeks and require work crews to operate under the threat of renewed drone attacks. The loss of this supply line immediately disrupted Russian logistics, cutting off a route capable of sustaining 2 battalions and forcing a re-evaluation of how to protect such assets. These coordinated strikes accomplished more than the destruction of rolling stock and fuel. They demonstrated the vulnerability of critical logistics to precision drone warfare and exposed the limitations of traditional defenses against modern asymmetric tactics. The fire and steel left the rails warped and the line unusable, but more on the battlefield fallout in the next segment. Strategic shockwaves followed the destruction of the Russian fuel train, reverberating far beyond the immediate loss of material. The obliteration of 560 tons of diesel fuel, enough to sustain 2 battalions for a week, delivered a decisive logistical setback. The railway line, now warped and charred, became unusable for weeks, cutting a vital artery that supplied frontline operations. This disruption forced Russian command to reallocate resources, not only to reconstruct the damaged rail line under threat of renewed attack, but also to safeguard future shipments along an increasingly vulnerable network. The psychological dimension of the attack was equally significant. Ukrainian forces demonstrated that infrastructure, even deep within contested territory, could be targeted with accuracy and speed. The operation was meticulously documented in high-definition video, capturing the precision and efficiency of each strike. These images circulated among Ukrainian units and beyond, serving as a form of psychological warfare. For Russian forces, the footage was a stark reminder of their vulnerability, undermining the perception of logistical invincibility. For Ukraine and its partners, it became a powerful symbol of what could be achieved with careful planning and technological adaptation. The implications for Russian logistics are profound. The need to defend not only the front lines, but also the entire length of supply routes introduces new complexity. Railways, once considered relatively secure behind the lines, now require constant surveillance and layered defenses across vast stretches of territory. Every mile of track and every fuel depot becomes a potential target. This expansion of the defensive perimeter forces Russia to stretch its resources even thinner, dividing attention between protecting infrastructure and supporting combat operations. The dilemma is clear: reinforce railway security or risk further catastrophic losses. What would you prioritize defending? Fuel trains or frontline artillery? Let us know in the comments. Perhaps the most striking lesson from this operation is its demonstration of asymmetric cost-effectiveness. 3 Ukrainian FPV strike drones, each tailored for a single mission, achieved destruction that would typically require a far more expensive conventional missile strike. The cost of the entire drone operation amounted to only a fraction of a single cruise missile. Yet the impact on Russian logistics and morale was immense. This comparison highlights how small, autonomous systems can now break through even the most advanced electronic warfare defenses. Traditional artillery and large-scale bombardments are no longer the only means of inflicting strategic damage. Precision drone warfare offers a scalable, efficient alternative. Russia's Lear. 3 electronic warfare systems designed to jam and disrupt drone operations over a wide area failed to prevent the attack. The Ukrainian drones' frequency-hopping communications, inertial navigation, and image recognition guidance overcame jamming and maintained accuracy, even as they penetrated hostile electromagnetic environments. This exposed a critical vulnerability in Russian defenses and underscored the need for constant innovation. The operation illustrated that technological adaptation, rather than sheer numbers or firepower, increasingly determines success on the modern battlefield. The broader ramifications for military strategy are clear. Drones, operating in small numbers with autonomous guidance and encrypted control links, have proven capable of disabling critical infrastructure deep behind enemy lines. The destruction of a single fuel train cascades through supply chains, delaying operations, reducing readiness, and forcing adversaries to reconsider how and where to concentrate their defenses. This shift challenges long-held assumptions about the security of logistics and the value of traditional large-scale systems. By demonstrating the ability to strike with precision and minimal risk, Ukraine has forced Russia to adapt under pressure. The psychological and tactical effects of this operation extend beyond the battlefield, signaling to adversaries and allies alike that the rules of engagement are changing. The question now is not just how to rebuild or defend a railway, but how to respond to a threat that can materialize anywhere along a supply line at any time. The lessons of this strike point to a future where technology and strategy, not just brute force, shape the outcome of conflict. As the landscape of warfare evolves, so too must the approaches of those who fight. The Ukrainian drone strike on the Russian fuel train stands as a clear example of how unmanned precision is redefining the conduct of modern conflict. This operation did more than destroy a single target. It demonstrated that precision-guided drone attacks can disrupt critical infrastructure and directly impact military campaigns. The loss of 560 tons of fuel, enough to sustain 2 battalions for a week, revealed the outsized strategic effect of small, autonomous systems against traditional supply lines. If you want more in-depth analysis on precision drone warfare, remember to like and subscribe. As defenses adapt, how will drones evolve next? Share your thoughts below.